At the core of it was the Axis Bank financials, Mr. Hazari. How do you think that this move of curtailing Shikha Sharma's tenure will be looked at in that context?
Firstly, I don't know why you're saying her tenure should be curtailed. According to me, her tenure ends on 30th May. RBI has very clearly rejected her for a 3-year extension. If the regulator does not find her fit and proper to continue as CEO for 3 years, I do not see how the regulator can consider her for 6 months more. And therefore, it is the duty of Axis Bank to find another CEO. How can you have, when the RBI has rejected her for 3 years, how can you again go back to the RBI and say you want her for 6 months? And look at the financial performance in the last 1 to 2 years of Axis Bank under her leadership. Profitability has collapsed. Operational risk management is virtually non-existent. The kind of arrests you've had for money laundering. The asset quality is out of control. And this has all been under her leadership. Therefore, in my view, RBI had a very proper case not to renew her extension. I'm amazed that Axis Bank, despite all this, their performance appraisal system of their CEO, they thought she's fit to serve another, 3 years. And how can she be fit to serve even 6 months, I would ask?
Hazari, this is Vishwanath joining into this conversation. While I take a point on Axis Bank and its performance over the last few years in terms of NPAs, we have to also look at the point that a number of other banks have seen their NPA spike quite a bit. So do you think that that this is a fair point to just single out Shikha Sharma? Because you've had Yes Bank, ICICI Bank, you had a bunch of other public sector banks, SBI for example, the last quarter with a 20,000 crore addition to NPAs because of this AQR or related other surveys. What do you think about those?
See, you cannot compare her to any PSU bank. Please note, she has been the CEO since about 2008 or 2009. All the sanctioning of the infrastructure loans has taken place under her watch. The head of credit she has handpicked from JP Morgan and a former ICICI colleague. So everything was done under her control. The PSU banks, please note, all their tenures of the new CMDs have been very short. They're all new CMDs. And another point is this, that none of them are coming up for renewal. It is Shikha Sharma whose term ends in May, and therefore they're seeking a renewal. I fail to understand how a board can actually extend the CEO when you have such performance.
Okay, Mr. Hazari, where does this go from now? You're saying that even the 6 months extension, so to speak, should not have taken place. But do you think it will improve confidence in the Axis Bank management now that the step has been taken?
How can it improve confidence? This just shows that according to me as an analyst, I totally have no confidence in the Axis Bank board. When you come up with a CEO, the RBI as a regulator rejects your choice. How can you go back to the regulator and say that this will be a shortened tenure for a CEO? RBI has rejected her candidature for CEO. Let us be very clear about that. So if she's not fit for 3 years, how can she be fit for an additional 6 months?
Mr. Hazari, you're very clear that perhaps this extension of source even till December should not have been given. Once again, if we take the story forward looking, where do you see it going from here? Because perhaps that 6-month period is required for a smooth transition and handover.
I totally disagree that you require 6 months for a smooth transition and handover. Please remember when Shikha Sharma was appointed, the whole entire process took place in 2 months. There was no succession planning. There was not a smooth transfer, say, from PJ Nayak to Shikha Sharma. It was abrupt, and she was picked in 2 months. Now, if she can be picked in 2 months, I am sure her successor can be picked from now till end of May. There is no such thing, when you have such a thing, look at her own history and her own date and the way she was appointed. So this idea that, the board requires time, the board, in fact, should have been looking for a successor from the middle of last year when all these problems were surfacing. In my opinion, the board has clearly failed in its responsibility to the shareholders, to the depositors, and to the regulator, that they should have really picked someone else instead of continuing with her term. And there lies the fundamental problem for me in this bank. It is not just the CEO now. It is really the competence of the entire board of directors that they should have ensured last year that there was a suitable candidate to replace her. And that way, I'm very sad to say the board has failed in this primary responsibility of CEO succession at Axis Bank.
Is this telling us something about how the central bank is looking at, affixing responsibility, if I may say, in an environment when the entire banking sector is going through a significant churn?
In my view, it is very late. In fact, in the middle of last year, it was the board's responsibility to have ejected her as CEO, that the board did not do that they went straight away for an extension. In fact, a premature extension, they asked her. And look at the board's role in all this. You see, despite all these years of poor performance, poor operational risk management, they were actually rewarding the senior management. If you see Shikha Sharma's remuneration, the increments, the bonuses, they kept increasing. The stock options kept increasing. That means the board of directors of Axis Bank were rewarding the CEO for very poor performance. Now, it was then when the board had clearly failed in its duty to discipline her. It is the responsibility of the banking regulator to have stepped in and done his job. Instead, the banking regulator has allowed this 1 year to go by, and then some news leaks out in the press that they have told, they have rejected the term. Therefore, in my view, the Reserve Bank of India should make it very clear to the board of Axis Bank that when her term ends in end May, that is it. She has to go, and they have to look for a new CEO come 1st June.